Thank you everyone for joining us for this session. Rarely have supply chain leaders faced more complex, changing conditions than they have during the COVID-19 pandemic. There is no better person to discuss these challenges with than Mourad Tamoud, Chief Supply Chain Officer at Schneider Electric. Mourad, thank you for joining us.
Hello, Karin. Thank you for receiving me today.
Our pleasure. So, Mourad, we all like to use the term resilience. What does it really mean in the context of supply chain?
Yes, Karin, thanks for that question. I think what we have learned through this last crisis is that a black swan is always now possible and seriously challenging the robustness of our supply chain. We have gone through and lived through tsunamis. We have been, challenged by tariff war. We have gone through managing electronic crisis. This time, COVID has hit everyone, everywhere at almost the same time. There are three large trends that I think we have had to focus and on which we very quickly, address to recover and move forward. Number one is the safety, the remote workers, the digital enablement of our workforce, all the work around the social distancing, the contract tracing, and the overall resilience. And I need to kind of explain my views about the resilience. We realized really the importance of redesigning supply chain that were historically designed to be more efficient, but not really considering the resilience as an important aspect. We had to really reconfigure to activate double sourcing, multiply the factories backupping each other. The key element to that is really about business continuity plan, but really stress tests, I would say, of this business continuity plan. Developing what we call in our jargon, the power of two for all our critical ranges. To be systematically double sourcing our components and raw materials. Being able to develop strategic stocks positioned in the right location when it comes to, impossibility to have a double sourcing. Create also buffer capacity by design, being able to activate 20, 30, 40% capacity to catch up when you have been stopped for 1 day, for 1 week, for 1 month. Last but not least is really about focusing on cybersecurity at every stage of our supply chain. That would be, in a nutshell, what I would, describe being the new focus on resilience, Karin.
Thank you for that. So we talk a little bit about resiliency and what are the current challenges, but what, in your opinion, what are the core challenges currently in the supply chain? And you talk about COVID-19. Has COVID-19 changed your priorities?
Yeah, absolutely, Karin. I really think that COVID-19 has dramatically and for a long time now changed the way we are thinking supply chain. We are absolutely considering a much more regional approach. North America for North America, China for China, Europe for Europe, and really empowering, I would say, our teams at the very local level, close to the customer. I used to say now, decide and act locally while remaining highly aligned globally. Digital and remote everywhere. And I can explain, digital from the way you do procure to pay, the collaboration with our suppliers, the way we run our factories, how we provide technical assistance. We have been experiencing moments where the expert is in one region, the equipment is in another region. We had to provide that technical support remotely, especially, leveraging solutions developed by Schneider through the EcoStruxure platform, Operator Advisor, but also providing solutions to our customers to do what we call the final acceptance test, meaning remotely and digitally managing the acceptance test for a customer before being able to ship the equipment to them. And last but not least, I would mention also here a very strong investment inside our end-to-end control tower that I would say covers not only the transportation control towers, but also the planning control towers, in order to give, I would say, visibility to our customers. We have at Schneider Electric today 7 control towers that are covering the entire network at the supply chain for us and connecting the dots between the different regions and the different businesses. That I would say what I would kind of, share with you as the big transformation that we are taking for the next steps.
That's great. So digital transformation, you mentioned it previously. So achieving next generation industrial efficiency and resiliency will require bold moves, such as implementing innovative technologies. What are the technologies that will impact, in your opinion, the supply chains in the coming years?
Yeah, I think that, the ability to consistently deliver a world-class product at the highest level of quality is already an extreme ask, given the complexity of large supply chain. The new normal that COVID crisis has kind of, put us through is really the ability to, I would say, clearly invest in the digitization, consistently reevaluate and reinvent our tools and processes in driving, I would say, how the future will look like. Innovation here is key. And I would like to kind of mention a few examples on how we see innovation at Schneider. Number one is digital is everywhere, as I mentioned earlier, from the planning to procurement to quality to industrial processes, connecting real-time our processes, but also our products to collect data from the entire life cycle of the product and the systems that we are realizing for our customers. In the past 3 years, you may know or not, but we have been running an important transformation that we called the Tailored, Sustainable and Connected 4.0 transformation, which has showed us that, also sustainability has been a key element of our modern supply chains. We can't run a supply chain without taking into account the importance of driving CO2 emission, reducing our impact and our footprint in terms of carbon, managing also the amount of energy that we are consuming to transform and to deliver to our customers, integrating also more recycled material as much as possible, starting from packaging all the way through the way we design the products, reusing plastics and metals. Our Smart Factory program that, attached to the C of the TSC 4.0 has been absolutely, I would say, critical for us, as it showed how the technology has, now embarked in the way we run the modern supply chain. I just can mention a few elements, 3D printings, where now we have more than 100 sites at Schneider Electric equipped with 3D printing, capable of reacting, realizing some jigs, realizing some spare parts for maintaining the equipment, but also about automated guided vehicles, collaborative robots, investments in data analytics, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and so and so. I mean, this is really, the moment where the hardware of the supply chain comes in direct, conjunctions with the innovation and modern capabilities that I would say technology has been able to bring to us. I think I can just mention supply chain automation with the aspiration for us to run a touchless supply chain. That means, integrating drones, integrating traceability, visibility that I was mentioning earlier through the control towers, but also artificial intelligence to improve the relative percentage of the work contained in production that can be automated. We are talking also, and I spoke about the 3D printing, additive manufacturing that will allow us to react significantly faster, to be more agile and sustainable also. And I would say we spoke initially about the augmented operator. That is really technologies that are starting to be available in the market that enable better ergonomics for the people, that also enable people to take faster decisions, to be able to be assisted remotely, as I was explaining earlier. So definitely a very exciting moment, and I want, kind of mention some of the pilots and proof of concept we are doing on 5G, but also with the modern LPWAN in terms of communication protocols. A lot going on. Very, very exciting moments for all supply chains, and particularly at Schneider Electric.
Wow, sounds that Schneider Electric indeed takes bold moves towards the future, and it sounds very exciting. Just last question, Mourad, with your permission. There are many startups in the crowd today, and I'm sure that they are eager to hear how Schneider Electric collaborate with different startups, and what is actually your unique value proposition?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Karin, and I would probably explain a little bit how we are set up and how we have been kind of driving the organization at Schneider. We have a dedicated organization called Innovation at the Edge. And I think you may know my peer, Emmanuel Lagaric, that is very involved with many startups we connect with in Israel. And also we are partnering with Supply Chain Center of the Digital Innovation, which is a team that is embarked inside the supply chain, led by Brian Tessier, who has a dedicated budget, a dedicated resources, and whom, you know, some of you probably have already interacted in the last year. The Innovation at the Edge basically finds and somewhere sorts the new startups and technologies, and in the technologies where they see some valuable proposition for our supply chain, we basically take it, work with the Center of Digital Innovation, what we call the CODI, and start implementing some tests, some proof of concepts. We use real data, we use real problems, we go into real factories as well as distribution centers. And I can just give you an example. We have been successfully evaluating a company named Inspecto that provides a solution with video and camera recognition coupled with AI that enabled us to significantly improve our capabilities in terms of quality, in terms of inspection of our PCBA and boards in production. And we have really developed with this company a lot of interactions. We have tested some applications in some of our factories in India, but also in other regions. And we see it as a very dynamic, work together, collaborative approach, where between our Innovation at the Edge, which somewhere can decide to invest in some of those startups that we consider being interesting, that can, ultimately find their seat into, a technology that Schneider can propose also to our customers while, testing it inside our supply chain. So we end up being, partners, customer, and somewhere users of the technology. Very excited. I would just add one thing. I think that it's important that those startups that we are working with have to be very demanding on us. We want them to challenge us. We want them to challenge the status quo. Also, to be very clear on what is their value proposition, what is the solutions and the benefit that they are providing to companies like ours. As I said to you, we provide real data. We provide real problems. We are not, in theory and in discovery, etc. We are on the ground, we have factories to run, we have customers to deliver, and we believe that with those proof of concept, we can really demonstrate the value that the startups have to bring and also learn from each other. We are learning as much from them as they could be learning from us.
Thank you for that, and trust the Israeli startups to challenge you as much as they can. Mourad, thank you very much for this insightful discussion. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the startups and everyone in the crowd today learned a lot. So thank you very much for your time and for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Karin, and have an excellent seminar.
Thank you. Thank you very much.